All right, everybody, thank you for coming out. I'm Tom Reeby. We're here today to honor Art Fried, and we're really happy that you're all able to come out on such short notice. You know, one thing that occurred to me when I was driving up here from Santa Fe, I was thinking about this, and the Oppenheimer Committee has been around so long now that we've been passing this organization down through the generations.
Okay.
And it's really a remarkable thing. We have our senior members who are guiding the younger people who are coming in. Fortunately, we've got a lot of new, younger people coming in. I'm somewhere in the middle. But anyway, I was just thinking how wonderful it is, and to have people like Art and Leon around who've been around with the organization for so long. It's really wonderful, but nobody has, as far as I know, has given this organization the amount of commitment that Art Fried has. He's been with it basically, as I understand, for 49 years. We've essentially been organized for 50 years. So there's a little gap back there, but we'll forgive him for that. But anyway, thanks again for coming. I'm going to turn it over to David and let you pick up from here. David Israelowitz.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, Art. So I'd like to just read the plaque that we've gotten for you. And we thought that it would be appropriate to celebrate really that you are, in a sense, kind of the conscience and the pillar of our committee. So we'd like to present you with this plaque. So the J.R. Oppenheimer Memorial Committee gives the emeritus member position to J. Arthur Fried in recognition of decades of dedicated service and leadership as the committee chair, as vice chair, as secretary, and archivist. So congratulations, Art. We will really appreciate all the years of support and service to our organization.
Don't anybody tell we took off our masks just when we were speaking, that's all. Art, first I have to tell you that when I joined the JROMC in the early years of this century, I already thought Art was emeritus. But he's had another 20 years to become emeritus plus many times over, and we're so happy to acknowledge you as our emeritus. I don't know, we could go on a long time. Now I have a lovely message written and sent by your nephew, Steve, who had hoped to be here today, but because of being ill, couldn't come. So he wrote a message, and I promised to read it to you. Steve says, "On behalf of my Uncle Art, I want to thank all of you and everyone who has been involved in organizing this recognition event for Art." And now he wanted a little reminiscence so all of you would know who he was and his relationship to Art. Art and my Aunt Nancy have been very involved with the Los Alamos community for very many years. I remember in 1972 having the opportunity to have a summer job at the lab and watching Art and Nancy host a dinner for members of the Olympic track team. How many of you remember this? Who had come to Los Alamos to train at 7,000 feet. elevation in preparation for the Summer Olympic Games in Mexico City. Art and Nancy attended those games as they had earlier attended the games in Munich. And speaking of Germany, my wife, Becky, coincidence in the name, and I accompanied Art in flying to Koblenz to attend Art's beloved opera, Dr. Atomic. He has attended that opera in cities all over Europe and America. Art and Nancy traveled extensively. Art has been to all 7 continents. This is impressive for one of 2 sons whose parents were born in Hungary. Over the years, Art has made it possible for all of the children of all of his nephews and nieces to travel, asking each of them to send him a postcard from wherever in the world they picked to visit. And now I just have a short PS from me. Art is proud to have attended every single one of the performances of Dr. Atomic, from the first here in Santa Fe to the most recent in Koblenz, Germany. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you a photograph of him and his nephew, Steve. Let me just show you that, and then I'll introduce our next speaker. But it's a wonderful photograph, and I hope you can see it. If I hold it up here, we have flying programs and flying photographs. But here is a wonderful picture, and this Steve sent so that he would be part of this celebration. So here they are in Koblenz, and I gave sneak peek to Art, and I'll put it up on the table so the rest of you can see it. So my honor is next to introduce Leon Heller, who is another person who's been in the JROMC, should I say it, J. Robert Oppenheimer Memorial Committee for many years. Nice to see you and hear your comments, Leon.
I'm sure you got the mic.
It's a great pleasure for me to greet you, my dear friend Art, of many years, and to help celebrate this day with you. You've all heard about his many years of service involved with our scholarships, our lectures, everything that the Oppenheimer Committee does. I want to tell you about 3 specific things into which Art has devoted an enormous amount of time and energy. One is the bust of J. Robert Oppenheimer, which belongs to this committee. It was created by Una Hanbury, a sculptor from Santa Fe, now deceased. There are only 3 of these in existence. One belongs to the Oppenheimer Committee, one belongs to the laboratory here in town, and one belongs to the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. Art has devoted an enormous amount of time to ensuring that that sculpture, which belongs to us, is always in a safe place. If you go to the Los Alamos History Museum, you will find it there, and at the very bottom of the base it says, "Property of the J. Robert Oppenheimer Memorial Committee." Unfortunately, at the moment, it's not in a good location in the museum. It's in a dark alcove, and I will speak to the director there to make sure it gets in a proper location. Okay, number 2 is the, let me see, make sure I have the right one. Here. These are the photographs of the Oppenheimer family, which were given to the Oppenheimer Memorial Committee. Family photographs. They were given by Kitty Oppenheimer, and they belong to this committee. And over the years, Art has arranged that they be shown in the gallery of Mesa Public Library. That has happened twice that I am aware of. Art also arranged that they be shown in Oak Ridge. He has made captions for every one of those photographs. And I hope that in this 50th anniversary year, that they will be shown again. Number 3, Art created an amazing institution, I call it. It's the annual, now semi-annual party that Art has thrown in his home for so many years, to which he has invited not only all the members of the Oppenheimer Committee, but many other friends as well. Anyone who was fortunate enough to have attended those parties knows the excitement. There was great food, there was drink, and wherever you looked, there'd be a group of 5 or 6 people in a conversation over here, another group in conversation over there. A wonderful, lively evening. And for many years to have carried on with that, it was a tremendously enjoyable time, for which I also thank you, Art, and I want to wish you the very best.
Now we would welcome anybody else who would like to contribute to this wonderful tribute to Art to come and do it. Larry Deven.
I was a member of the Oppenheimer Committee for many years. I can remember when Art was the only member who had been on the committee longer than I had been. And from the very first meeting that I attended to the very last one, I could not believe how the committee could keep on functioning without Art's work. It's been mentioned that he was our archivist, and that word includes many, many tasks that Art did. He kept track. We do 2 major programs each year. One, the annual speaker, and 2, the awarding of scholarships. And Art kept all of those records, all of those years, for all 49 years. Anyway, I could not have been chair of the committee without your help, Art, and thank you very much for your help to me and for your help to the entire committee.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Leon. Do you want to say anything, Art? Would you like to speak?
Thank you. My instructions were no speeches, just say thanks. You're lucky. But I do have I certainly have thanks to every single person here. It's been a great joy and privilege to be part of this group. It was early on. We had been, my wife and I had been in Los Alamos a dozen years when Harold Argo, who at the time I think was chair of the committee, asked if I would be interested in joining the group. I'm not sure why that even came about, but I was certainly honored, and I'm still honored to have been asked. It gave me a great opportunity to meet people I never would have met, or certainly not gotten to know very well, except possibly through my position at the lab, but even so, not so much. And now you found a way of putting me on a side bench somewhere. We've actually had people in this position of emeritus, but we didn't call them emeritus at the time. And then we abolished that position. And that'll probably happen before too long. Who knows? Mrs. Oppenheimer herself was named a lifetime member, which is sort of what I guess I've just become. I don't know. But anyway, I'll take it. You know, when I joined the committee, there were people who were members who had been with the Manhattan Project. None of them are on the committee now, of course. Time does go on, or others who had been associated with the Manhattan Project, and the place was different, much less formal than it even is now, and it's not very formal now. I mean, who ever heard of referring to the director of this laboratory by his first name? I certainly was appalled at the idea, but I became used to that, and Norris Bradbury was a member of this committee at one time, which most of you probably don't know. But then people knew who Stan was. They knew who Mary was, and others by their first name. It was difficult for me, having come not all that long before from academia and from a very large public library institution where first names were never used. And in fact, when I came here, I was instructed to call my boss by her first name. I couldn't do that for a while. It just wasn't part of the culture. Well, that's what you do now, and that's what will probably continue. It's a very charming aspect of this laboratory. I'm not sure if it works, but it does work. Anyway, I won't take up much of your time. You don't want to hear me. I wouldn't want to hear me if I were me. So why would you? I will tell you that I am now under the care of a healthcare organization here in Los Alamos, and I would welcome your visits if you care to visit. But I also have an announcement. I learned this morning, and some of you already know this, that the Santa Fe Opera is ostensibly back in business. I called last week to make a reservation for myself and two guests, but couldn't. But I could this morning. Now, it seemed somewhat tentative, but they accepted my request for a reservation for a performance in July. So as a fan of the opera, and thinking how important it is to this community and to northern New Mexico and to the United States, I would urge you to consider doing the same thing. At least as of this morning, they're accepting your reservation. They are selling tickets, I was told. They'd better, it seems to me, or it's going to be out of business, it seems to me. That's not official, I'm just making that up. Anyway, thank you again for coming. Thank you for this honor. I guess I've completed my obligation.
Thank you, Art. That was wonderful. It just strikes me that people like this that are so giving and so community-oriented, it's truly an inspiration. Anyway, thanks for coming. We'll leave it at that.